And I could not be happier to invite my wife, Piper Kerman, up to tell the next story.
Hi there. All right, so my six-word memoir for today is Snitches Get Stitches. Or maybe not. So, when I was fresh out of college, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I met what seemed to me to be an impossibly sophisticated and clever older woman. And I fell for her pretty hard. And, she seemed to know everything about the world, and I knew very, very little about it. And what she didn't know, she was more than happy to sort of just make up, seemingly often for her own entertainment. She just had so much confidence, and I trusted her to show me the world. So her facility with lies was not an accident. She turned out to be a narcotics trafficker and a manipulator and just not so trustworthy. And, but I gotta give it to her. She is very, very charming. At her request, I carried a bag full of drug money from Chicago to Brussels, which pretty much scared the pants off of myself. And not so long after doing that, I came to realize that I wasn't really as important and beloved to her as I thought that I was. And in fact, I sort of saw the writing on the wall, and some sense of self-preservation kicked in, and I left. So, and actually, I came here to San Francisco to get my shit together. What a good place. Years passed. I didn't hear from her. Girlfriends came and girlfriends went. Eventually another persistent charmer won my heart. His name was Larry Smith, against all odds. And, my life moved forward. And then one day I did hear from my ex. Not directly, though. Who I heard from was 2 federal agents who came and knocked on my front door and pretty politely informed me that I had been indicted in federal court in Chicago, and I had better show up for my arraignment or else. I had been ratted out. Now, if you are a criminal like me, then you know that the lowest life form out there is the snitch or the rat. Hence that warning. Snitches get stitches. But I gotta tell you, the rat or the snitch is a criminal archetype because, in fact, when the chips are down, that convict code, sometimes it holds, but often it doesn't. So on my indictment, I had 13 co-defendants, including my ex-lover. Now, people roll on each other to get reductions in their own sentences. So the question here was, who was the rat? Well, when my discovery came in, discovery is when the government is supposed to show you the evidence that they've collected against you. It seemed to be pretty clear right there in black and white. There was the statement of my ex-lover against me, kind of the ultimate revenge, right? So I took a plea and got ready to go to prison. That actually took a while, though. I faced a 6-year legal delay before I actually self-surrendered at a federal penitentiary in Connecticut. And that gave me a lot of time to stew over being ratted out, right? And I really let my imagination run wild with revenge fantasies. And many of them were actually set right here at the Lexington Club in the Mission District and involved broken pool cues and broken glass and broken noses and a lot of blood. I did eventually go to prison. Now, I knew that she was in prison too, on the other side of the country. So I had that as cold comfort as I went through strip searches, the other daily indignities of incarceration, and as I struggled and fought to find my place amongst this strange new community of women that I joined behind bars. And I made it. I found my friends. I found my place. I found out how to do my little bit of time. And I was really getting close to the end of my sentence. really close to my release date, when I got the call to pack out my meager prison belongings and get ready, because I was getting shipped out. I was getting sent out of my comfort zone that I'd carved out in this prison on the federal airlift, also known as Con Air. And I was getting sent back to Chicago to appear as a witness in a trial of a co-defendant who I'd never even met before. I was not happy. Now, I gotta tell you something. Con Air is not a comfortable way to travel. As bad as Coach is these days, it does not involve full shackles. And I wore this chain, so you could imagine. Now, fortunately, I was not completely alone in this sort of frightening journey. I was lucky. I had a couple of my girls from Danbury with me. My friend Jay and her cousin Slice were there, on their own writ. And I was very grateful for that because, Jay and Slice are both, let's just say they're big girls. And Slice has a scar from 100 stitches that curves around her neck and across her clavicle. So I felt a little bit safer with them clanking along by my side. So where we were sent, kind of like FedEx sends every single package through Memphis, Con Air sends each and every item of its heavily tattooed cargo through the Federal Transit Center, which is in Oklahoma City. And this is a place so awful that I was stunned. I felt homesick for that prison back in Connecticut. And from there, I was then sent to a federal jail in Chicago. A snake pit so wretched and so vile that I felt homesick for Oklahoma City. And it was there on this journey that I came face to face with my ex-lover for the first time in 10 years. Now, remember those revenge fantasies? Because I know you've all had them, right? This was my moment. This was my opportunity to see them realized. Not only did I have the opportunity, but I also had sort of the social, approval of the convict code. Snitches get stitches. Get in there. I felt actually a social obligation to do or die. Mercifully, I also had the voice of reason sort of speaking over my shoulder in the form of Jay and Slice. And Jay said to me, look, you do what you gotta do. I'm gonna back you up to a point, though I gotta tell you, I'm not going to the shoe over your shit. But Piper, is it worth it? You are almost out of here. Do you really want to catch another charge over this bitch? So I went and I stared at a cinder block wall for a while, and I summoned up all of my prison zen, and I made the decision not to seek revenge in the form of a beatdown, but now I wanted something different. I wanted her to cop to it. I wanted her to admit that she was a rat and a snitch, right? Now, the wretchedness of that jail in Chicago actually forced us together. Quite literally, we chose to share a cell. The conditions of our incarceration overtook, actually, our shared history, that shared incarceration, which does not mean that I did not occasionally threaten to drown her in a toilet. But I did press her to tell me the truth. Did you name me? And she denied it. She said, by the time she got arrested, someone else had already been snitching. So, she didn't tell them anything they didn't know already. And maybe that is true, but probably it is not. The great gift, though, that the universe sent me was this confrontation. Because I came to realize, finally, that it didn't matter if she ratted me out or not. Right? To sacrifice your own anger and your sense of being wronged is very, very hard. But I landed myself behind prison walls. I finally let go of any blame for her on that. She offered me a choice, and I took it. Thanks.